After 2 weeks of the inauspicious period called Shraddh, which kicks off in many parts of the country on Sunday, September 22nd will see the first day of Navratras, the kickoff to the month-long festive, celebratory and shopping hyper period for India. It is no coincidence that the Modi government has pushed through a wide-reaching simplification of the Goods and Services Tax, or GST, that is set to come into effect that very day. The idea is simple: a convoluted system with 4 slabs and many more layers when you add in the compensation cess and additional taxes, etc., had turned out to be a disservice to GST, which was trumpeted as the good and simple tax when it was first launched across the country 8 years ago. That time it replaced state and national level taxes that varied from state to state. And finally, the government bit the bullet now and has set about simplifying the system, starting with reducing 4 and more slabs into 2 and more. There will be 5%, which encompasses a vast number of household essential and day-to-day items, while 18% covers most of the rest. Of course, there is a 40% sin tax level for a few products from tobacco to aerated drinks. But the important point to note is that with many, or maybe I should say most items in the aspirational or consumption category have moved up from 28% to 18%. With that, the middle class is in for a bonanza. Anything from air conditioners to other electronic goods to even small cars, and yes, cement. This is what Ranjan Chakravarti, Professor of Practice Finance at Chennai's Great Lakes Institute of Management, said about the GST tax reforms.
The cut in GST rates is a very good thing for the economy. It's essentially going to drive demand. It's going to increase a lot of investments. The stock market, I think, has got the rallying impetus without the government spending any money. So it's very good for the government, very good for the public, and very good for the market. I think this is the beginning of a very good phase of internal policy, which is separate from being linked to the global market. So this is also going to drive in both FII and DII investment. So I think overall a very good thing. I give this 100 out of 100.
Of course, the hope is that big businesses will pass on the tax cuts to consumers. But there is a very clear strategy on the government side. Urban consumption has been on the low for some time now, while the rural economy, which showed signs of issues, is now resilient and has been going up since COVID. But the urban uncertainty needed to be tackled before the further whammy of Trump's penalty tariff hits down the value chain into job losses in sectors from textiles to jewelry. The fact that something like cars up to a certain specification will see tax cuts of anywhere from 10% to 13% shows how the government wants the middle and upper middle classes to lose the reticence in loosening the purse strings. Also, note how cement has seen a cut. From 28% GST, it has come down to 18%. The intent? Push construction and infra building, which has a direct effect on economic growth, not to forget the fact that the sector is a massive provider of jobs. Meanwhile, despite the 7.8% GST growth in the last quarter, all indications are that growth is set to slow down in the coming quarters. And that is an analysis predating the rampage that Donald Trump is on and how it could whip Indian growth. The government obviously is leaving nothing to chance when it looks at alternative options, even while hoping that domestic consumption will carry the day, at least for now. After all, tomorrow is another day. And if not tomorrow, another day at least, the GST Council itself could need to look inward and go deeper with further reforms it has procrastinated for too long. This ranges from the mismatches in claiming input tax credit, the long pending call for an appellate tribunal to deal with the appeal cases over GST rulings, which now clog in India's high courts, as well as how the compliance burden for businesses while filing GST has only become more complex over time. GST has miles to go before it truly becomes the good and simple tax.